Supreme Court halts execution of Texas inmate seeking to allow Buddhist spiritual advisor in death sea. The Supreme Court agreed Thursday night to halt the execution of a Texas inmate, Patrick Henry Murphy, after he argued that the state was refusing to allow his Buddhist spiritual advisor to accompany him into the chamber. The Justices Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch would have denied the stay. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote to explain why he voted to grant the application. The case marks the second time in recent weeks that the justices have been asked to put an execution on hold because a prison policy allows Christian or Muslim chaplains who are prison employees to be present, but not advisors of other religions. The prison forbids it. The cases pit an inmate's claims of religious liberty against prison officials who say the requests are meritless and simply last-ditch attempts to avoid execution. Murphy, on death row for the murder of police officer Aubrey Hawkins in 2000, was scheduled to die at 7 p.m. ET on Thursday. Back in February, in a strikingly similar case out of Alabama, a deeply divided Supreme Court split 5-4 and Dominic Ray go forward despite the fact that Ray argued that his religious freedom rights were violated when the prison barred his imam from being present at the execution. The Alabama prison only employed a Christian chaplain. The conservatives but Justice Elena Kagan wrote a scathing dissent, joined by the three other liberal justices on the bench, calling the majority's move profoundly. Here, supporters of religious liberty also heavily criticized the conservatives' vote. Writing for The National, in explaining his vote in the Texas case Thursday night, Kavanaugh offered one reason in a footnote that might explain why he voted in favor of Murphy after he had cleared the way for Ray's execution. Kavanaugh also said that states had two options going forward: allow all inmates to have a religious advisor of their religion in the execution room, or allow inmates to have a religious advisor, including a state-employed chaplain, only in the viewing room, not the execution room. What? Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton had argued in briefs that the court should rule against the inmate because The case prompted a friend of the court brief filed by the Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty, a nonprofit law firm. Lead lawyer Eric Texas. After the court acted, Rasbach issued a statement. Religious.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.